Welcome everyone to another Observability Clinic community episode 16, where we talk about the Dynatrace Tenant review. You will hear all about it, not from me, but from Thomas. Thomas, thank you so much for doing this. How are you today?
Very good, very good. Enjoying summer and some Dynatrace vibes.
Very good, very good. And nice to hear. Hey, you made me aware of the Dynatrace Tenant review, and I was excited when I saw it because there's so many things. First of all, this project does, but also people can learn a lot from it on how you build this. A lot of best practices around what we can do with dashboards, what we can do with JavaScript. But without any further ado, Thomas, I would like to pass it over to you, and you just tell me what you're going to show us today and where people can find more, and yeah, how people can also maybe collaborate.
Exactly. Thanks, Andy, for the intro. And we'll get directly to know the Dynatrace Tenant review and how it is the assistant that helps you drive and get the maximum value out of the Dynatrace platform. But also we'll keep some last minutes to discover how we built it for you to grasp some new concepts and why not reproduce this magic directly within your organization. But first, why did we build it? Because most of our customers have recurring questions, just like if they are really following our best practices, if they are getting the maximum value from their Dynatrace tenant, if what's the actual state of configuration and implementation and even adoption of the features of their own tenant, and if there are some of their applications that are, let's say, less observed than others, where they should focus a bit more of their efforts. And as central admins, we have recurring thoughts just like, what's the health status of my entire fleet of WAN agents and active gates? Are they all up to date, supported, and also getting the maximum benefits from performance and security improvements? So all of those reasons made us build the Dynatrace Tenant review, and I propose we go directly to a live demo. So it's super easy for you to run that DTR in less than 1 minute. And I will show you why. You just need to join the Dynatrace open source GitHub repo named Customer Success. We will share links in the video description. And then enter in the Dynatrace Tenant review folder. Click on its JSON file definition, download the raw file, and it will be on your laptop. Then simply join your Dynatrace tenant and the new dashboards app. You will see here an upload button that makes you explore directly to the file you just downloaded. It will then import its JSON definition, and here we will see a button right behind our face to review all the code. Because this Dynatrace Tenant Review dashboard is heavily based on JavaScript code tiles, and Dynatrace gives you the opportunity to review each and every one of the code tiles before you can run it and apply transformation and analytics on your Dynatrace tenant data. So I will let you discover the code later directly on GitHub. You can trust this code because it's read-only. It won't change anything on your tenant. It's not pushing data outside of your tenant. And in less than 10 seconds, it's evaluating many indicators directly within your tenant.
Hey, Thomas, first of all, thank you so much to show how easy it is to actually, create these dashboards, export them. So you brought them to the Git repository. Everybody can then import. It seems you obviously in your practice runs, you have imported it several times now. So Dynatrace will then also automatically make sure that a new version gets imported. The running the code is great because what you're doing here, you're really showing how you can actually build almost like an app on top of Dynatrace, some custom features on top of Dynatrace, even without having to build your own Dynatrace app, but you can obviously still build the apps. You also mentioned, in case people didn't see it, because I think our videos will be on the top right of the recording, there will be a blue button that says review and run everything. So that's perfect, just to mention again. But yeah, now I'm really looking forward into diving deeper into the Dynatrace Tenant review, because all of these questions you have brought up in the beginning, they're questions we constantly hear. And then basically packaging it up in a dashboard is just a great idea on how to leverage Dynatrace and the capabilities.
Exactly, and to save time and always know what to do next.
Yeah.
So as you can see here, the DTR starts by a quick introduction, but most importantly by a synthesis section here that confirms which tenant is evaluated, a total score based on many sub-scores that we will see later. And also, if you really don't have time, here is a list of what to do next. But you can always expand, and it's sorted, prioritized by the importance of the Dynatrace feature that we recommend you to implement, and also its actual state of configuration. So both criteria prioritize this list of calls to action for admins in order to continuously improve their state of implementation, their observability, and the value that they get from the platform. And if you have a few more minutes, of course, you can scroll down. This dashboard is quite long and go wide and deep in the analysis, and you can get the full details right below. And as you can see, this dashboard is split in 3 columns and several sections that zoom and focus a bit more on a certain subset of capabilities of the platform. Here, zooming in a bit more on host monitoring, with also a set of indicators evaluating the state of configuration of important features of the platform. And every time you see an emoji, this means that there is an evaluation of one feature. And the score derived from this evaluation will participate in the total score here. In the central column, you will most often find qualitative analysis that complements the quantitative analysis performed from the left. So here, for example, a list of hosts that still don't have any assigned host groups. On the right, you will find a static description, introduction of the capability that is evaluated here, a one-liner also description of the value that you get by implementing the features evaluated from on the left here, and a link to the most relevant public documentation to know the steps to follow. So,
hey Thomas, I need to just say, this is awesome what you do here, because basically what you did, you codified all of our best practices, right? On the right side, you have the textual description, find more, but you basically put all of those best practices and recommendations into this automated dashboard that then goes over your tenant and does all of the best practices checks and gives you a ready to go, first of all, score, which is great, but then also a ready to go list of these are the things we recommend you to do. Wow.
Exactly. So it's really baked directly in that dashboard, like a textbook. It's ready to minimize the effort and the time investment to know what to do next, what's not well configured and prioritized, because there are so much things you can configure and get value from in the platform. It's much better when it's prioritized. And just below this static text description, you will find dynamic recommendations that are based on the subscore evaluated here on each tile from the left. So this dynamic recommendation is tied to this one to this one, etc. And this is dynamic and will change depending on the evolution of configuration of the tenant. And that's the same schema that is repeated section after section. And you can then explore all the capabilities of the platform going up in the application stack through process group monitoring, services. You can see there are more or less features evaluated here on the left, front-end, apps, mobile or web. And here is a good example of how deep and wide you can go with a single JavaScript code tile and really avoid hundreds of clicks. Here, we can list up to 500 of your monitored application front ends. And for each one of them, you will find the state of configuration for the most critical features for real user monitoring, for example, here. If there is traffic, if it's enabled, it's really important if you have at least 3 synthetic tests covering this app. If you leverage user tags, key user actions, properties, if you got any conversions, if you are leveraging, getting value from session replay. For admins also, a quick look here to detect which app have no detection rule, which means there is no traffic ever going to this one. So may I clean this? May I update it? Many answers in just one single table. And you can do this cross-check of many data source for your own use cases. So it's just one example, and you can apply the same principles for your own needs. And we continue evaluating synthetic monitors, management zones to organize how you work with your monitored entities in Dynatrace. Finally, in one single view, we've got the auto tags and the manual tags, and also which monitored entities are not tagged at all. So to really see if you have got some work to do and improve the configuration here or not. Alerting profiles also, it checks if all alerting profiles have an integration associated, because with no integration, it's basically useless. So here you can really see easily which ones are quite useless and need some correction of update. SLOs are a critical part of improving the quality of service of your applications. So we really encourage you to apply those on at least your most critical apps, but also leverage its intrinsic features like alerting on burn rates, on the error budgets. So all of this is baked into this table. It's recommended dynamically, but we can also check your usage of log monitoring, management, and analytics, application security, with new solutions coming up every 2 or 3 months. It's really active domain, and I'm pretty sure this section of the DTI will evolve with time. And here, as you can see, we skip the qualitative analysis to pack a bit more of numerical indicators for the new features of the platform here. If you're leveraging the new dashboards, the new notebooks, really soon we'll get to know your usage of workflows, cloud integrations, and much more. One of my favorites is also to implement ownership teams within Dynatrace to shrink significantly your time to assign a detected issue. Dynatrace is very good to detect really fast, but if you take 2 hours to assign that issue to the most relevant team, you are losing this precious time. So here you can automate these assignments. So here we are bad students. We didn't implement it that deeply in our demo tenant, but that's a good example. Soon we will evaluate your usage of API tokens if you need to clean some. And last but not least, within that dashboard for admins, it's quite important and recurrent. It's about the health status of the one agent's fleet, and same thing for active gates, because you can have hundreds, maybe thousands of one agents running in your IT landscape. And here in one view, you can see which one are unsupported, which one are still running a recent version, and one that are older but still supported. Let's try to rerun that tile to get the list per version here. So for you to focus directly on the versions that are directly not supported, you have a direct link here to the deployment status page to save some clicks. And same approach for active gates. You get the full list of active gates with the precise version. It's to make it easier for admins to keep the health states of their fleets to the best possible outcome with the latest features and performance fixed. So that's pretty much it for the content.
Thomas, here's the magic thing about this. You are not a Dynatrace engineer, right? Because I mean, you are. What is your role?
I'm a tech product specialist, so I work day after day with our customers on answering technical questions on implementation, configuration, and how to exploit best the platform. So I'm not developing the platform itself at all.
But what you show here is because you built this. You
show
exactly how easy it is to build on top of Dynatrace, because we give you dashboards, we give you notebooks. Obviously, we also give you App Engine where you can build fully native apps. But for me, it's always amazing to see what is possible simply with dashboards, because you can run JavaScript behind the scene here on these tiles that have full access to all of your data, all the configuration, obviously running in the context of that user then that opens up this dashboard. So we obviously looked very secure and concerned here, but this is just phenomenal what you show here. Just blown away.
It really accelerates, and it's like you just need to write backend JavaScript functions, just the backend logic behind each one of those tiles. You don't need to think about front end. You just reuse standard elements from the dashboards that are available in 2 clicks. So you save a lot of time, at least half your time. Just focus on the direct value, and that's the beauty of those new dashboards. If you know basic JavaScript, you can start really getting much more value, saving a lot of time. You don't need to do like something huge like this, and it just starts with one tile, and you save time already. So I really invite anyone to test, and we will get to know a bit. We will open one of those code tiles really soon. And one thing I just want to highlight on how to control and restrict the frontiers, the boundary of this review. You have 2 variables available here. The first one lets you restrict the scope of the review. By default, it's applied on the entire tenant, but you can select one or more management zones to include in the Dynatrace tenant review. For example, if you want to send this sub-review to one of your ops teams and for them to self-serve that information, those answers, and be autonomous into improving Dynatrace configuration in their own scope. So that's just one use case. And the other variable that lets you restrict this DTR is the selection of indicators that you saw on the left. There are more than 40 indicators evaluated automatically for you by default, but you can, for example, simply focus on host monitoring and select the 4 first options here. And that's it. The total score, the entire review will be tailored to what you define.
Wow.
So that's already possible. And I think that's a good transition to our behind the scenes session. We just talked about variables, so let's explore together how easy it has been to set up those 2 variables of different types. As you will see, let's open them. The first one is named scope. It's a code type of variable, and it's just 9 lines of JavaScript code here. Importing the relevant client SDK to pull the names of all the management zones from the tenant and append it to the keyword tenant. So here we got a list of strings basically, and that's what we return. Let's run it to get the preview, and that's exactly what we got, a list of strings. And that's typically what is a dashboard variable here. No, not more complicated. Yes, I want to be able to multi-select. That's what I did. And the second, bit different, but even simpler, it's a CSV. So as you understand, comma separated values. No more to add here. So every time I add an indicator, for example, in the DTR, and just go here, comma, at the exact name of the indicator, and you will be able to select it in the variable. Nothing else. So it's super simple, and this is quite powerful because you will see in a few seconds, if we open the backend of a code tile, we'll open the right side panel here to see the JavaScript code. And we directly use the value of the second variable, indicators, to check if it's under selecting all, or at least selecting the indicator that we are here opening. And also it's using the second variable, scope, checking if the DTR is applied to the entire tenant or a list of management zones. And these two informations will guide how we define our entity selector to pull all monitored, full stack monitored hosts within the tenant or within the list of management zones, and do a similar thing to get the full list of monitored monitored hosts. So we got those two values, and we just do the ratio of those two values, multiply by 100 to get a percentage and an int, and that's it. We got an integer percentage of the full stack coverage, as commented here. And based on this full stack coverage percentage, we can define a subscore, a score of 0, 0.5, or 1, depending on the percentage. If it's 100%, it's perfect, so you get directly a 1 out of 1. If it's more than 80%, you get half point. If it's less than 80, 0. This you can totally customize to your need, of course. And based on the score, I just added a prefix emoji to make it more intuitive and fun, agreeable to understand also how good, how healthy this feature is actually configured, implemented, and adopted. And that's it. I just return the string that is customized with the emoji and nothing else. It's just returning a string. So once I know this, I can also select the type of visualization I prefer. As it's a single string, single value is perfect, as recommended automatically by the UI anyway. So that's exactly the visualization that I chose here. But of course, depending on how you return your data, you will have more or less visualization options available. And also, the visualization needs to be coherent and relevant to what you return. That's important to keep in mind. And that was an example of code tile. And each of those tiles are not more complicated than this one. Huh? You will see by yourself, easy to copy, paste in another dashboard, or simply get a bit inspired by, of, and that's it. It's just, those are just examples.
Yeah. I think that's the greatest thing, because this is all, as you said, it's all on the Git repository. Yeah, you can import it. You can just look at the raw data. All of this is part of the dashboard definition. And for me, it's always a great way to learn. If I see something, I want to know how does it work. Like in this case, fetching the number of hosts that match a certain entity selector, and you are also then crafting the entity selector based on the variables. This is just great examples that you have, and you have so many more in there. But the great thing is everybody can just import this dashboard on your own tenant, play around with it, and then just edit these individual tiles, and you get into the code view.
Exactly. To repeat, it's totally safe. The dashboards app itself is restrained by design, and is only able to execute read-only calls to the Dynatrace SDK.
Perfect.
So by itself, the dashboard will not be able to change anything in any tenant. Plus, the code itself, you can review it before executing it to make sure, for example, that it's not sending data to the exterior, which is now possible, but you can review if it is or not. Of course, it's open source. And yeah, it's just a taste of what's
possible
now possible, and more is coming, I'm pretty sure. So.
I'm very, very happy that you showed this, Thomas, and very happy that you built this, because the thing on its own, while these best practices, I mean, seeing how you build this is great, because I would envision that maybe some of our users will maybe slightly modify this to their own needs, right? Maybe they have a different way they want to calculate the score. You can just take it, modify it, or just get an inspiration of building something from scratch. But just taking this Dynatrace tenant review as is already gives all of the admins here that administrate Dynatrace environments a great starting point of, hey, I need to figure out how to get the hosts in the host groups. There's many apps that don't have SLOs, or like lingering around empty alerting profiles, what you showed earlier. This is great best practices, and everything just works out of the box. Thank you so much. This is really cool.
Less than 1 minute.
Yeah, in less than 1
minute.
You're welcome. Yeah. Thomas, anything else to show? I know all the links. We'll put them in the description. Anything else you want to highlight?
We will share some external resources to the Dynatrace developer platform, the forum also, got a quite recent community, the new docs of the platform, and of course the GitHub repository that be sure to watch, because I'm pretty sure there will be more projects to simply augment the success and adoption of our customers.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you so much, Thomas. Looking forward to having you back on another session.
Awesome. Me too. Have a great summer.
Thank you. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.